The execution chamber floated in the void between star systems, a perfect dodecahedron of transparent alloy that broadcast to every civilized world across 7 spiral arms. Inside, Honey Martinez stood with her hands bound behind her back, her breath fogging the recycled air as 3 billion species watched. She was 19 years old. She would be dead in 12 minutes. The Galactic Council had made its ruling 3 standard weeks ago. Humanity's expansion into the outer territories had violated Protocol 7 Alpha of the Sagittarius Accords, a treaty humans had never signed because they'd never been asked. The punishment for sapient species breaking quarantine protocols was always the same: 1 execution, broadcast live, to serve as deterrence. They had chosen Honey because she was ordinary. Not a soldier, not a scientist, not a leader. Just a cargo handler from the colony ship Perseverance, caught in the wrong place when the Council's enforcers arrived. Harry Chen watched from his cell on Station Thelxus 9, pressed against the force field that separated him from the common area where the broadcast played on every available surface. He'd been Honey's partner for 2 years, both professionally and personally. They'd moved shipping containers together, shared ration packs, planned a future on a world they'd never seen. Now he could only watch. Honey Martinez, the Council Arbiter's voice resonated through quantum-entangled speakers, translated simultaneously into 4,000 languages. The Arbiter was a Caltharian, its crystalline body refracting the light of distant stars. You stand convicted of species-level violation of territorial sovereignty. Do you have final words? Honey looked directly into the nearest camera drone. Her face was calm, too calm, Harry thought. She'd been terrified during their arrest, screaming his name as they dragged her away. But now, facing death before the galaxy, she seemed almost peaceful. "I do," she said, her voice was steady. "You made a mistake." The Arbiter's crystals chimed with what might have been amusement. "Humans do not dictate truth to this council." "Not that kind of mistake," Honey continued. "You thought executing one of us would scare the rest. You thought we'd see this and crawl back to our little corner of space." She paused, and something flickered in her eyes, not fear but calculation. "You don't understand us at all." "Enough," the Arbiter declared. "Initiation of neural cascade in 60 seconds. Harry's fists clenched until his nails drew blood. Around him, other prisoners, humans all, swept up in the same enforcement action, stood in horrified silence. On every human colony, ship, and station, people stopped what they were doing. Children were ushered away from screens. Adults stood frozen. Honey closed her eyes. Harry watched her lips move, counting down from 60. What the Galactic Council didn't know, what their extensive surveillance and advanced intelligence networks had somehow failed to discover, was that humanity had developed something unique during their desperate expansion into space. Not faster-than-light travel, which they'd stolen from the wreckage of an ancient derelict. Not zero-point energy, which they'd bartered for with a few species willing to trade with the newcomers. No, humanity had created something far more dangerous, a distributed consciousness network. It had started as a way to combat the isolation of deep space. Neural implants that let crew members share emotions, memories, experiences across any distance using quantum entanglement. The technology was still experimental, still technically illegal on most human worlds because of the psychological dangers. But on the frontier, people got desperate. People got creative. Honey had volunteered for the program 6 months ago. So had Harry. So had 17 million other humans across 60 colony ships and 400 stations. When the neural cascade hit Honey, a weapon designed to shut down a sapient brain in the most agonizing way possible, while keeping the body alive for maximum deterrent effect, something unexpected happened. The pain didn't stay contained. It distributed. 17 million humans gasped simultaneously as Honey's agony flooded through the network. The sensation lasted exactly 0.03 seconds before the distributed architecture did what it was designed to do: share the load, divide the burden, make the unbearable bearable. Honey's eyes snapped open. She should have been seizing, her nervous system destroying itself. Instead, she stood tall, surrounded by the visible distortion of the Cascade weapon at full power. What? The Arbiter began. On Station Thelxis 9, Harry felt it. On the Perseverance, Captain Morrison felt it. On New Perth, on Armstrong Colony, on the mining platforms of the Kepler Belt, 17 million humans felt Honey's pain, divided into manageable fragments, transformed from a death sentence into mere discomfort. And they felt something else: Honey's determination, her defiance, her absolute refusal to give these alien bureaucrats the satisfaction of her fear. The neural cascade ran for its full programmed duration, 90 seconds of sustained assault on Honey's consciousness. 90 seconds that should have reduced her mind to incoherent fragments. When it ended, she was still standing. The silence across the broadcast was absolute. Impossible. The Arbiter's crystals jangled in what Harry recognized as distress. The cascade is absolute. No species has ever survived. You wanted to send a message, Honey interrupted. Her voice was stronger now, amplified by 17 million voices feeling what she felt. You wanted to show us our place in your galactic order. You wanted us afraid. She stepped forward, and the force field that should have restrained her flickered and died. Nobody on the council had anticipated needing it after the cascade. But here's what you actually did, Honey continued, and now her voice carried harmonics it shouldn't have, the subtle resonance of millions speaking in unison. You showed 3 billion species that humanity can survive what nothing else can. You proved we're not just another client race to be cataloged and controlled. And most importantly, she looked directly into the camera, and Harry felt her smile like sunshine through their connection. You pissed us off. Across human space, something activated. The quantum-entangled network that had saved Honey's life suddenly expanded its function. Every human connected to it became a node in a vast computational array. Information began flowing at speeds that made the Council's supposedly superior technology look primitive. Every human ship suddenly knew the position of every Council enforcement vessel. Every human colony simultaneously accessed the Council's own databases, centuries of carefully guarded territorial maps and resource surveys. Every human scientist shared every breakthrough, every theory, every experiment in real time. In the execution chamber, alarms began shrieking. Security breach, an automated voice announced in Galactic Standard. Unauthorized access to Council networks. Source, distributed architecture, unable to isolate. The Arbiter's crystals flashed emergency crimson. This is an act of war. No, Honey said calmly. This is an act of survival. You tried to kill me to scare my species. Instead, you just taught all of us that we're stronger together than anything you can throw at us. And now, she gestured to the view screens filling with data, with schematics, with 300 years of Council secrets downloading into human databases. We're not going anywhere. Harry watched, heart pounding, as the broadcast cut suddenly. Emergency protocols, he guessed. Too late, the message had been sent. Not the one the Council intended, but the one that mattered. On screens across the galaxy, species that had lived under the Council's authority for millennia watched the feed dissolve into static. They'd witnessed something unprecedented. A species not just surviving the Council's ultimate punishment, but emerging stronger. Within hours, petitions began flooding Council channels. Client species demanding to know more about this human technology. Independent worlds requesting diplomatic contact with Earth and its colonies. Even some Council member species quietly suggesting that perhaps the Sagittarius Accords needed revision. 3 days later, Honey walked out of a Council detention center. Charges dismissed, pending diplomatic review. Bureaucratic language for, we have no idea what to do about this situation. Harry met her at the docking ring, and when they embraced, 17 million humans felt their reunion through the network, a moment of pure joy distributed across the void. "They're terrified," Honey whispered against his shoulder. "The Council, they built their whole civilization on being able to control through fear, and we just proved fear doesn't work on us anymore." Harry pulled back to look at her face, still seeing the girl who'd counted down from 60 with her eyes closed, ready to die alone. What happens now? Honey smiled, that same defiant smile she'd shown the galaxy. Now we negotiate, as equals, because they tried to execute one human and instead united 17 million. Imagine what they'd create if they tried to execute more. Around them, the station hummed with activity. Human ships were already moving, taking advantage of the territorial data they'd downloaded. Not invading, not conquering, just existing, spreading, refusing to be contained. The galaxy had turned, indeed, not through war or conquest, but through the simple, stubborn refusal of one girl to die quietly. Through the realization that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their stolen technology or desperate courage, but their fundamental inability to let each other suffer alone. The Galactic Council had ordered an execution. They'd gotten a revolution instead. 27 minutes that changed everything. End.